Hi guys, welcome to this new demonstration, and in this one I'm going to be talking about horizontal cylinders. So remember, in the previous video I showed you how to design and draw a vertical cylinder, but now I'm going to move this like this, and I'm going to show you what happens when we move it in the space, close to the viewer, further out, to different angles. You will see basically how important it is to be able to control ellipses in the space. Okay, so before I start, let me tell you why they are so important. They are so important because every time you have to design a vehicle or a product that has wheels, and these wheels are basically setting vertically on the ground. Think of a motorcycle, think of a bicycle, think of a car, think of a truck. These scenarios require the ability of being able to control horizontal cylinders. I will try to demonstrate quickly how to draw them. The first thing that I'm going to do is, as usual, I'm going to sketch a horizon line like this. So HL here, and my horizon line usually contain mountains, and maybe I have some buildings here, some clouds. You don't have to do that, of course. It's just part of my style. I like to entertain myself with the horizon line. The next thing that I'm going to do is the same thing that we did for vertical cylinders. In the horizontal cylinders, the first thing that I'm going to do is to sketch an axis. This axis is going to touch the horizon line in the vanishing point, and once I have done this axis, the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to identify one point where that I will be using to sketch the 90-degree line. Okay, remember, this line that I just did has to create a 90-degree angle with the axis. So whatever you do differently, so if you sketch this line to different angles, it's not going to work. It's going to be wrong. If you do something like this, so remember, typical mistake is to see people that sketch a vertical line like this. This is a mistake. Remember, for horizontal cylinder, the 90-degree angle has to be created from this line and the axis. So this would be an angle of probably 45 degrees. But it's not correct. You need to make sure that the 90-degree angle is a real 90-degree angle created with the axis. I'll show you another example. Let's pretend that we have a different axis here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to identify one point, and now I'm going to sketch a 90-degree angle. Okay? Okay, so, but before we keep going, I'll show you basically what we have to do now. The first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to identify how big I want my ellipses to be, and then I'm going to start sketching some ellipses like this. The next thing that I'm going to do, I need to identify, excuse me, I need to show the design line. So I'm just going to sketch a very clean and darker line. It doesn't have to be super precise, but it has to give the idea that it's properly done. So mine was not actually great, but I'm just keep going. I'm going to identify another point here, 90-degree line again. Again, this is a 90-degree angle. And here I'm just going to sketch a smaller ellipse that also is going to be wider. So check what I do. It's smaller and wider. I'm going to show this part of the ellipse, and now I'm just going to connect the two ellipses with two straight lines that are actually going to, excuse me, just to do it again. With the tablet sometimes it's difficult because I don't wash my hands, and this is sometimes just tricky. Okay, so again, this is the visible part, focal point. I'm just going to exaggerate the darkness of this line like this. Again, this is the visible part, so it's going to be darker. This is not visible, and in this case this is also visible, so I'm actually going to fix this arch a little bit. Also, if you notice, I don't like to erase my lines, so I prefer to keep my mistakes. Sometimes mistakes help, can become interesting opportunities to design interesting things. I also want to sketch a couple of section lines in the middle of my cylinder, so I'm going to identify a couple of points, 90-degree lines like this, 90-degree lines like this. Again, this is a real 90-degree angle, so which means that this line and this and this and this, they are all parallel. Now I'm going to sketch between these two lines an ellipse. This ellipse is going to be smaller and a little wider compared to the first one that I did. Just going to identify my section like this. And also I'm going to sketch another section in here, again, smaller, and a little wider. So it should come out like this. This is the visible part. This is the visible part. Okay, so this is my cylinder, and usually it's a good idea to darken actually the two sides of the cylinder with darker lines, just to make sure that it's very powerful and visible. Do we need to have two section lines in the middle? No, we don't. I just did them to show you basically what happens to cylinders. I'm going to show you another one here, so different axes, another 90-degree line here. I'm going to sketch an ellipse here. I'm going to sketch wider ellipse here. I'm going to connect them like this. Okay, I'm going to bring out a design line here, and I'm going to bring out a design line here as well. Okay, I'm going to connect them with a straight line that is going to be a tangent between the two. Okay, and this is a new cylinder. It's a good idea sometimes to just show maybe section line in the middle. I'm just gonna keep it very light. It just helps the viewer to understand basically what I just did. Okay, so two cylinders. So what I want to notice, want you to notice something. The two cylinders now they have two axes that share the same vanishing point. What does it mean? It means that if we check this scene from the top, it means that these two cylinders are parallel. But because we are in perspective, remember, every time two lines share the same vanishing point, it means that in the top view they are parallel. Okay? Great. What if I want to sketch another cylinder, a flying one, that share the same vanishing point? So I'll sketch another, maybe I'm gonna sketch something like this here. Okay, so axis, 90-degree line, 90-degree line. I'm going to start here sketching a very big ellipse, and now I'm gonna sketch a wider one here and smaller. I'm going to decide what part of this ellipse is going to be the good one, so the design line. And I'm going to bring out the good lines here, and I'm going to connect them. Okay, that's a flying cylinder. But if I need to add a section 90-degree line, again, this is 90 degree, I'm going to sketch an ellipse in the center here. I'm just going to bring out the right line like that. Now, question, how do you know how wide the first ellipse should be? That's a good question, actually. Well, first of all, let me notice these three cylinders in the top view, they are going to be parallel. They all share the same vanishing point. What if I introduce a new vanishing point here, new axis, going to sketch a 90-degree line, ellipse number 1, ellipse number 2, smaller and wider. Okay, so again, answering the question, how do you know how wide the first ellipse should be? Well, usually I try to sketch the first ellipse pretty much like a 60%. So I don't like to keep it too thin, and I don't like it to keep it too wide. The dimension is up to you really, but I think it's a good idea to keep it around 60% in terms of width, and then you move from there. So in this case that would be like that. Remember, in this case I'm sketching a cylinder very close to the horizon line, so it would be good to sketch the big one next to the viewer probably a little bit darker, so it stands out in the scene. You don't want the object close to the horizon line to be darker than the one next to the viewer, okay? So this could be now a decent scenario. Notice how this cylinder, this one, has a different vanishing point, so it means that this one is not parallel to these three, okay? I think this is pretty much it for cylinders. Yes, I think that's pretty much it. Try to practice, and I'll see you in the next demo.